The topic for tonight's discourse is Laughter is Meditation. Even though Swamiji comes up with interesting topics to capture our attention, his message is always the same. The discourse will be followed by a question-answer session. We will end tonight's program with receiving individual blessings from Swamiji. Swamiji will also give divine healing to all those who wish. During his visit, Swamiji will be conducting 2 meditation workshops, the Shakti Spurna program and the Ananda Spurna program. The Shakti Spurna program is a day-long workshop in which Swamiji talks about the 3 body layers, physical, mental and causal, and helps to synchronize thought, word and deed for joyful living. The Ananda Spurna program is a 2-day program which deals with the energizing of the energy centers or chakras in our bodies. Chakras tend to get blocked with negative emotions and stress, which lead to various diseases. Swamiji teaches us meditation techniques to help activate total well-being. Rebecca Smith from the Department of Multicultural Affairs and International Relations will be delivering the address this evening. I invite Rebecca to kindly come forward and deliver the address. Thank you.
Good evening. On behalf of Governor Taft, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Swamiji. Ohio is truly honored to have you as our distinguished guest. I would also like to thank Angela Jackson and the Nityananda Foundation for inviting me here this evening, as well as for sponsoring Swamiji's visit to the state of Ohio. On behalf of Governor Bob Taft, I would like to present you with the following proclamation. I want to extend my warmest greetings to Swamiji, Spiritual Master from Thiruvannamalai, South India, on the occasion of his special visit to the state of Ohio, August 17th through the 23rd, 2004. Ohio is truly honored to have Swamiji as a distinguished guest. We are pleased to have a culturally and spiritually rich state, and we appreciate the ways in which individuals and organizations contribute to our community by furthering the ideals of spiritual strength and healthy living. The state of Ohio's greatest treasure is its people, and we recognize the unique benefits that can be achieved from the celebration of understanding and multicultural diversity. We appreciate the promotion of better health, stress management, and meditation, which are the basic teachings of Swamiji. On behalf of all Ohioans, best wishes for a successful and memorable discourse. Sincerely, Bob Taft, Governor.
I welcome you all with my love and respects and my sincere love and thanks to the Governor of Ohio and to her who represented him for their proclamation and the warm reception, good words they gave to receive me. So by giving a clap, we will give them our respects. Subject for today's discourse is Laughter is Meditation. According to my understanding, laughter is one of the greatest meditation techniques. Almost every intelligent individual has recognized the power of the laughter or the transformation which it can bring into our body, mind and the soul. the healing effect of laughter is realized immediately. You don't need to believe on this meditation technique. There are few things which proves the power of laughter as a meditation technique. First thing, immediate effect. Other techniques, first thing you need to believe. The technique will help. Next thing, you need to practice. Third thing, you need to wait for the result. But laughter does not need anything else, anything of this sort. It doesn't need your faith. It doesn't need your belief in it. You don't need to wait to have the result of it. Immediately, you experience the result which is created by laughter physically and mentally. Almost all the great mystics, all the masters have realized the effect, have understood the transformation which happens by laughter. It's one of the subject which is analyzed by almost all the great masters. Somehow, man never take notes of laughter as a meditation technique. Laughter is never considered as a spiritual quality because we associate spirituality always with seriousness. Spirituality is taken as something dead, something serious, something only for the people who have got long face. But according to me, spirituality is something to do with life. Always we think spirituality is for the people who are old. When you don't have anything else to do except knitting the sweaters, you need to take Bible or you need to go to church. There is a saying, go to church, don't wait to be carried by 4 men. We always wait to go to church. We don't actually go. We wait to be carried by 4 men. We always think religion is something for old. Religion is something to do with dead things. Whenever we think religion is for the people who are old, we make it too complicated, too serious. The juicy portion of spirituality is lost, but religion is not for only the old people. Religions based on fear are nothing to do with religiousness. There is 2 things, religiousness and religion. Just dead rituals are religion, and the juice which is inside the rituals is religiousness. The religions based on religiousness has always emphasized the beauty of laughter. They always used laughter as a technique to transform. But whenever religions grow based on just rituals, then you miss the whole juice. Religion is living thing. It is not part-time job. It is not only for the old people. It's a quality of your life. It is just total quality of your very life. Laughter is not taken note by the intellectuals or the serious guys because it is very simple. Anything simple we miss. We miss many things because they are very simple. When it is complicated, we don't miss. Our ego feels satisfied by doing complicated things. But whenever something is simple, something is very ordinary, you miss it. Anything very simple, it always escapes our eyes. You bypass it. You don't look into it. So many beautiful things can happen into you, into your being, by simple laughter. And most intelligent communities of the world are the communities who have produced more jokes. In the world you can see who have produced more number of jokes, the intelligence in their life, in their community. For example, there is only 3 fields in the world. One is outworld, belongs to logic, mathematics, science. Another one is inner world, religion, mysticism, spirituality. Third is in between, psychology. The world related to outer world, the science. Inner world, religion. Between, psychology. The outer world, if you see the top person, Einstein is one of the genius mind in the science, the field of science. Inner world, Jesus. Today, more than half of the universe is followers of Christ. Between, psychology. Father of psychology is Sigmund Freud. Jesus, Einstein and Sigmund Freud. According to my understanding, laughter and jokes play a major role in intelligence. Communities which created more possibilities to laugh, more possibilities to joke, more possibilities to open the energy, have created intelligent people. They have presented intelligent minds, genius minds to the world. Because when you laugh, your whole being opens up. A new kind of energy enters your being. Just a simple understanding about the jokes, how these jokes work, how the jokes make you laugh. Actually, when you listen to a joke, slowly, your mind is tuned to certain kind of rational thinking. You come to a conclusion, but the last word, the punchline, is always something beyond your expectation. The moment you listen something beyond your expectation, your logic is put off, your rationality is relaxed. Immediately you open and you burst into the laughter. A small story. One guy was trying to tell a joke to a group of his friends. To tell a joke, you need intelligence. This guy was trying to tell a joke to the group of friends who were sitting and chatting with him. But somehow he missed the punchline. Nobody was feeling like laughing. Everybody was silent, keeping quiet. But one guy who was in the group started laughing uproariously, full belly laughter. The others were not able to understand why he is laughing. One guy said, "Why are you laughing?" Neither we understood nor he himself understood what he has said. The guy who was laughing somehow slowly controlled himself and said, "Laugh now itself, otherwise he will tell the same joke once more." Your logical expectation is different, and the punchline totally gives a different view. The moment your logic is put off, the moment you see something different than what you expected, you open up, you burst out. I think few of you have not laughed. I should try once more. Whenever your logic is pushed aside, you open up a light of energy, a ray of energy enters into your being. It's like in a dark room, a ray of light enters. Just like that. A ray of energy comes out to your body from your Atman, the source of all energies. From the ocean of energy, a ray of energy is supplied to your body the moment your logic is pushed aside. That is what happens when you laugh or when you listen to a joke. But there are few hard nuts who are continuously intellectual, who are continuously thinking. It is very difficult to make them laugh. It's very, very, very difficult to make them laugh. Understand, when I say the word intellectual, I don't mean they know everything. I mean they don't understand anything. They don't have sensitivity towards the reality. They are continuously thinking. A small story. There was a competition in India. If you don't laugh for 100 jokes, you will be given 10 lakh rupee. And 5 people will be made to sit. Those 5 will continuously crack jokes. You are supposed to stand on the dais without laughing. One guy entered the competition. Somehow he managed 40 jokes. But 40th joke he was not able to manage. He laughed. Second guy entered and managed 80. The third guy, really hard nut to crack, managed 90. Even up to 95, 96. The people who are telling the jokes, they were not able to understand what is happening. And these guys are prepared from all possible sources, getting jokes and arranging. The people who are seeing the program, they all started getting stomach pain by laughing. But this guy is just standing. By 98th joke, a small smile started appearing in his face. This guy's wife was sitting in front. She started shouting, "Hey, keep quiet, don't open the mouth. It's only 2 more jokes, don't miss 10 lakhs. Don't laugh, close your mouth." But somehow 99th, he was not able to control and laughed. Gave a full belly laughter, uproariously. The moment he came down from the stage, wife shouted at him, "Fool, you missed 10 lakh just by one joke. 1 minute, you could have shown your original face. Why did you laugh?" This guy said, No, just then I understood the first joke." Hard nuts don't think they're very intellectuals. When you don't have the sensitivity to the reality, when you don't have the sensitivity to what is happening around you, you keep your face long. And I tell you, really a man who is alive cannot keep long face. When you are continuously thinking, if your whole energy is sucked by your mind, if you are a great intellectual, just thinking, actually, if you become a great intellectual, you stop living. You stop living with reality. Only the guys who have become great intellectuals, who have disconnected themselves from the reality, they miss the whole joke of existence, whole universe. They miss the whole joy. They miss the whole play, because the existence is the ultimate joke. the existence is the ultimate bliss. If you have the sensitivity to live in this body, if you have the sensitivity to see the things around, if you have the sensitivity to hear what is happening, if you have the sensitivity to feel what is going on, you will see your life will be filled with laughter. Your life will be filled with laughter, because laughter is one of the important quality through which existence expresses itself. When you laugh for that one moment, you become one with energy. And there is a great story of Bodhidharma. When he became enlightened, the first thing which he did, the next thing which he did, the last thing which he did was laughing. When you laugh, you fall in tune with existence. When you fall in tune with existence, you start laughing. You may think, what is this? The story goes, Buddha came to give his everyday discourse early morning. 10,000 sannyasis are sitting in front of him. It is always believed Buddha had 10,000 enlightened disciples along with him, always traveling. So 10,000 enlightened disciples are sitting in front of him. One guy who is yet to become enlightened, this Bodhidharma, he has not become enlightened. Buddha, when he came, he brought a rose flower. He was just sitting without speaking, looking at the rose flower. He was looking. Suddenly he calls Bodhidharma and gives that flower to him and says, do you understand? Bodhidharma starts laughing uproariously. He neither gave a reply, I understood, nor he said, no, I have not understood. Just he started laughing uproariously. Buddha says, you understood, sit. And from that moment, Zen Buddhist scholars and Buddhist scholars are writing volumes after volumes. What has happened between Buddha and Bodhidharma? Why did he laugh? Why did he laugh? So many volumes have come out, but these volumes are all totally serious. According to my own understanding, what would have happened is a simple clarity. Bodhidharma would have been running, searching for the center of the consciousness, for enlightenment himself. The moment Buddha gave the rose, he has understood it is himself. So when he stopped searching, he got it. Then you would have laughed, oh, in what foolishness, in what rut I was wasting my life. I was searching everywhere myself except where I am placed, my own inner being. The moment he has turned himself towards his inner being, he has experienced his self and started laughing. The whole existence is nothing but a great joke. Nothing but a big joke. When you continuously think intellectually, you can't understand the whole play of existence. A great professor of philosophy goes to a Zen master and asks him, Master, please teach me the secret of universe. Why all these things are happening? What is happening? Why all these sufferings? Why God created the world? Why all these things are happening? Teach me. The master suddenly started laughing uproariously. You do not know how these Zen masters laugh. Their laughter is so strong and infectious. It is said then Zen masters don't laugh only by mouth, they laugh with the whole body. It is said they roll on the ground and laugh. There are clear records. Zen masters, when they laugh, they don't sit and laugh. They don't laugh only by mouth. They laugh with their whole being. They roll on the ground and laugh. His laughter is uproarious, infectious. First few minutes, the professor was just feeling uncomfortable. What has happened? Why is he laughing like a mad? Of course, for thick heads you need few minutes. After a few minutes, slowly he started analyzing. After all, he is a master. He will not do anything without proper reason. After a few minutes, the laughter was so much, this guy is not able to control. He started laughing. The professor also started laughing. Because how long you can stand? How long you can stay? Either you have to leave the hall or you have to start laughing. There is no other way. So he also started laughing. Laughing. The story said at one point, suddenly the professor became enlightened and never stopped laughing till his death. Of course, logically we can't understand the last line because we are also professors. You may not do the job of professor. You may not be professionally professor, but we are professors by nature. So much of our energy is sucked by our head. So much of our energy is stored only in the head. We almost stopped living. There is a small scale. There is a small method to find out whether you are a professor or not. Being professionally a professor is nothing wrong. But being a professor 24 hours is something wrong. Being professor professionally is nothing wrong. Being professor 24 hours is something wrong. A small incident which happened really. One guy came to me and started literally weeping. He said that I am having marital problems. And he introduced himself as a doctor. I asked him what your wife is doing. She is BABL. In India, BABL means lawyer. I asked, she goes to court regularly? No, Swamiji, she argues in the house itself. That is the whole problem. You see, if you are professional in your professional place, nothing wrong. But when you bring your profession in your life, then there is something seriously wrong. A small scale, a small method to find out whether you are a professor or not throughout your 24 hours. If you see a rose, suddenly what we do generally, immediately the word rose comes in our mind. And you start thinking about the roses which you presented to somebody or the roses presented to you by somebody. The next thought will be how he reacted or how you reacted. The third will be the loving moments, loving memories or the disturbed memories which is associated with that incident. The fourth memory will be how you related with that person, loving way or in a wrong way or anything. Memory goes on, you miss the real rose. Already you are lost. You missed the real rose which is laughing, which is smiling at you, which is welcoming you to appreciate itself, which is giving its being to you to enjoy. The moment you start arranging the words, the moment you associate thoughts continuously, be very clear, you are 24-hour professor. You are 24-hour professor. When I say professor, I mean continuously playing with words, not with the reality. Example, Sigmund Freud says beautifully. He says all our thinking is association. It has no logical clarity. For example, you see a dog in a street. Suddenly you remember about the dogs which you have seen when you were a child. Suddenly you remember the teacher who taught you the lessons when you were a child. Then you remember where your teacher used to live. Then you remember the school. Logically, there is no connection between the dog which you have seen in the road and your teacher. Even though both of them have barked at you, there is no logical connection. But the mind associates. If you are continuously thinking based on association, not based on logic, then be very clear, you are professor, 24 hours professor. We lose the living connection, alive experience of existence. This story says the professor laughed, and he became enlightened. Never stopped laughing till his death. We may think how laughing can make somebody enlightened. According to Zen Buddhism, if you laugh just for 42 seconds continuously, 42 seconds continuously, you can become enlightened. Again, shocking thing. We are all laughing continuously, sometimes even 1 minute, 2 minutes, but we are not become enlightened. Many people may think. One thing, what Zen people say by the word laughter is a total laughter. When you really laugh, your mind stops thinking. For that 1 minute, for that 1 second, for that one chana, you fall between the gap of one thought and the other thought. You can do only one thing. Either you think or you laugh. When you laugh, you can't think. If you are thinking, the laughter is not total. If you are thinking or doing something else, then be very clear, laughter is not total. Your being is not totally into that laughter. Laughter brings you to the present moment. By thinking, you travel either in the future or you are worrying about the past. But when you laugh, automatically you are brought to the center. You are brought to the moment, to the present moment. You live, you experience the consciousness which is present. Even the doctors who have done research on the effect of laughter, they give amazing reports. They say, first thing, it slows down the aging process. The first effect of the laughter is it slows down the aging process. Aging process means getting old. You don't look very old. You can see there are few people, even after reaching the age of 70, 80, they look very young and healthy, with full of enthusiasm, spirit, and the curiosity to learn, the search to know things, alive, vibrant. There are few guys who are out by 40. Who are out by 40. Why? The laughter is one of the important ingredients for your health. We add so much, so many things to extend our life. Understand, laughter is one of the important ingredients. Many doctors who have done research on the laughter, they give testimonial, they give their proofs how laughter helps. The second thing they say, antidepressive chemicals are released in your system. Antidepressive chemicals, the chemicals which removes the depression from your body mind. The antidepressive chemicals are released in your system. Third thing, the important thing, they say, your body starts radiating the beauty. You become more beautiful. Laughing is one of the important technique to really become beautiful. Even without the makeup, you can look beautiful. According to me, laughter brings more grace to a person. Beauty comes because of makeup. Laughter comes, the grace comes because of laughter. Laughter brings new grace to your being. Even in the physical point of view, laughter does so much to your being, so much to your body. And there are few more researches. They say laughter can rejuvenate your whole nervous system. Any other refreshing techniques, whether it is yoga or it is exercise or any other system, it takes care only some part of your body. But laughter is such, it takes care the whole body. The whole body is flooded with energy. You can see it in your own life. That is why now everywhere the laughter clubs are getting inaugurated. I am seeing all over the world, suddenly a big understanding has come about the laughter. People have started realizing the importance of the laughter, the important role laughter plays on our physical health. At least 30,000 laughter clubs are inaugurated just in 2003. I read statistics. 30,000 laughter clubs. It's not a small number all over the world. Then you understand how people have started recognizing the importance of laughter. They do nothing. Laughter club means they all gather morning at a particular time. Just 10 minutes, they laugh loudly, nothing else. They depart, that's all. But the beauty is, when you laugh as a group, it brings a new energy. Because laughter is infectious. When you laugh alone, it's like you earn $10 and you spend $10, that's all. When you laugh as a group, just understand one small thing. 10 people, if they put $10, it will become $100. But all the 10 cannot enjoy the $100. Only one can enjoy that $100. If all 10 has to enjoy means, again it will come only $10. But if it is an energy, for example, 10 persons are putting 10 volt current, it becomes 100 volt. If all the 10 touches that 100 volt, all the 10 will have 100 volt current shock only. It is not that they will have only 10 volt, no. All the 10 will have 100 volt. So when this energy, each one receives the total effect of the group. As far as laughter concerned, according to my own understanding, when the 10 people put 10 volt current, not only it becomes 100, there is a new transformer which is called group consciousness is created, and the 100 volt becomes 10,000 volt. You put 10 volt and you receive 10,000 volt. The group consciousness means a deep love and understanding between the whole group. When you laugh, you show you are innocent. You open up to the new relationships. You show a positive sign to the next person. You show a green signal to the people who are around you. They can come into your space and you are welcoming them. If they allow, you are ready to enter into their space. Letting somebody else to come into your space is the greatest technique to create any relationship. Why people suffer so much in aloneness? See, I've always seen the countries which are most depressed are the countries which are suffering the aloneness. Why you suffer so much with aloneness and loneliness? Because you don't have courage to open your space for others. I have never seen anybody suffering in aloneness or loneliness in India. Very rare. Very rare. People there suffer because of too much of crowd. Never by loneliness. Why? Somehow from the young age the techniques are taught to open up almost everything. The going to temples, doing group prayers, almost in every step you are taught to open yourself up for the others. Letting the others to enter into your space is one of the important technique to extend your life and to live more, because the doctors say if you are alone, if you don't have good friends, there is every chance, there is more chance of you dying 8 years ahead of your time, scheduled time. They say 8 years is not a small time. 8 years you can die earlier than your schedule if you are alone and if you don't have good friends. There are statistics says if you are retired early and you are not letting the people into your space, you are welcoming the heart attack, you are welcoming the cardiac problems. There are so many things, so many proofs, even in the medical field, which says letting the other people into your space or you entering into somebody else's space heals your mind, heals your being, gives you a fresh energy, gives you the fresh feeling. There is a book titled by me, the book title itself, Open the Door, Let the Breeze In. We are so much filled with insecure feeling. We continuously cover ourselves. Finally we make our own jail. The worm which creates a net for him to stay safely, finally he creates a jail instead of just net, and he forgets he is in the jail. Most of our houses have become almost like a graveyard. When you are alone, when you are not letting anybody into your space, when you are not entering into somebody else's space, when you are not sharing your space with others, your house is nothing more than a graveyard. It's a tomb. Maybe you are preparing it. Maybe you are getting ready. Be very clear. Laughter is a green signal for the other to come and relate with you. It's a wonderful signal which you are giving to the other. I am open to let you into my space. Laughter heals lot of diseases, especially the diseases related to navel center and throat center. There are so many records. Of course, I myself have worked with the laughing meditation. I have seen so many people getting healed by this one meditation, and such a powerful meditation. Almost every person feels the effect except the 24 hours professors, and even they somehow open up because the group energy is such a infectious. You can't resist such a big group laughing. If you are alone or if you are only with your wife, you can tell, keep quiet, shut up, behave yourself, something you can tell. If you are just with your kid, then you can say, shut up, sit quietly, behave yourself. But when you are with a whole group, you cannot resist. It is too infectious. See the children. Have you seen a single ugly kid in the world? Not only in our country. Look at all the cultures. Even in Ethiopia, where kids are suffering due to poverty, where there is no food. Even in Ethiopia, they may be lean and thin, but you can never see an ugly kid. Have you seen any single kid who is ugly? No. Have you seen single grown-up man who is beautiful? No. Why? You lose the spontaneous laughter. When a kid laughs, the whole body vibrates. Whole body vibrates. Kids never laugh only by mouth. They laugh with the whole body. Their laughter is with the whole body. When you laugh through the whole body, your whole body is flooded with energy. That is why kids are so alive. But we people, we are actually jealous with kids. Never think you are helping your kids. You have a subtle kind of jealousy. That is why you again and again control. Keep quiet, behave yourself, sit straight. Sit in a corner. Who asked you to draw in the wall? Where is your book? Study. Why do you think you shout? It is always a subtle jealousy. You will not be able to put up, you will not be able to manage the energy bubbling. You are actually jealous. That is why we always control the kids. Once they become dull, dead buffalo, then we feel, we produced our what? Child. Or your next generation. We feel comfortable once we make them dull. When they laugh, their whole being vibrates. That is the reason we feel little jealous. So much of joy, it is too much. It is too much. If you are laughing in the house, then you can say always, you can tell the people, keep quiet, enough, behave yourself, it is too much. But when you are laughing with others, you cannot say. The whole group is infectious. That is why the laughter clubs have become the place for therapy and getting healed. According to me, laughing clubs are more religious than any other church, any other temple, any other mosque, any other synagogue. Because laughing clubs are creating more life, more energy, more positivity into the world. In our ashram, we have a place called Laughing Temple. The place itself is named as a Laughing Temple, where I conduct regular discourses. Somebody asked me, what is this Swamiji, new name? Laughing Temple. I say, in this place you are supposed to offer laughter as your offering. That is why I have named this place as a Laughing Temple. Laughing is one of the greatest religious quality. Sense of humor is one of the greatest expression of enlightenment. According to me, there is no enlightened master who has not expressed this one quality, the sense of humor. There are so many enlightened masters. You see, some master expresses the love, somebody expresses the compassion, somebody expresses the silence, somebody expresses the great intelligence, somebody expresses by dancing. If you see the Krishna, he always sings and dances. If you see Buddha, he is silent and graceful. If you see Mahavir, always meditating. If you see Rama, always living righteousness. Every master expresses one quality. But here is one quality which all the masters have expressed. This must be the basic quality of enlightenment. Sense of humor. every master who is born, every enlightened person who is born on this planet Earth has expressed a beautiful sense of humor. Ramakrishna's books, if you read Bhagavan Ramakrishna's books, the direct recording of his teachings, there is a beautiful book called Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Every other page you will see a bracket, everybody laughed, everybody laughed. After every other page you will see a small bracket, everybody laughed. And actually the translation is done with a very polite way, because in original Bengali he used to speak in a very slang language. He spoke all his teachings in original Bengali. The original Bengali, if you read, you will be shocked. Is it Ramakrishna who is speaking? He is a very simple type of person. He is not high intellectual. He doesn't know how to use those cultural terms or how to present things. He is very hard. It is just a heart-to-heart gossip. I always tell people, more than a word gospel, gossip is right word for his teachings, because it is something to do with heart-to-heart. He is so innocent, so simple, and all sorts of dirty jokes. You can never expect that an enlightened man can make so many dirty jokes. He gives all sorts of dirty jokes. One of his disciples, he asked, if you read the original Bengali version or an intimate reminiscence with him, you can understand what are the type of jokes he makes. One of his disciples is asking him, Master, you are an enlightened one. Why are you making such a dirty jokes? He says, what? I just tell jokes. You make it dirty. What can I do? I just tell jokes. You feel it is dirty. What can I do? That's the beauty of innocence, beauty of enlightened masters. He says, when you speak in a cultured way, it means you are editing your words. Two things will start happening. First, verbalization, then editing, you present it. But when I speak with my people, I don't edit. When I am speaking to the public, when I am speaking to the common man, a newcomer, I give an edited version, censored version. When I speak, when I open my heart to my own people, to a group of seekers, I give the uncensored edition. He says, I just tell jokes, you make it dirty. Beautiful thing we need to understand. It is we who make anything dirty. It is we who make anything dirty. For him, it is everything normal, simple. Of course, according to me, Ramakrishna is one of the greatest master who has used laughter itself as a meditation technique. And there is a record, a reminiscence of his disciples. They say, sometimes we will roll and laugh so much. His laughters and he mimicking somebody, he imitating the people. We used to get even the stomach pain, and we will sometimes feel that it is enough, and we used to escape from his presence. We used to run away from him. You can't imagine that Ramakrishna used to make so much of jokes. And every master sense of humor was seen in every expression of enlightenment. According to me, this quality must be the basic quality. That is why every master expresses it. In other qualities, as far as dancing concerned, there is no expression of dancing in Buddha's life. In Mahavir's life, there is no expression of music. In Krishna's life, the silence is never expressed. In every master's life, something is missing. But as far as the sense of humor concerned, it is expressed in all the great masters' life. And moreover, if you see the masters laughing, you can see the ultimate expression of existence. One master, great enlightened master, used to tell his disciples, meditate on me as if I am laughing. Meditate on my form of laughter. Somebody asked him, why master? What is the speciality? What is the speciality? He says, a miser will be in his optimum energy. He will be in his maximum energy when he is counting the money. People never get tired counting money. Have you seen? Even if it is somebody else's money. In the bank, even if you are working in the bank, people never get tired of counting money. A miser will be in his optimum, in his maximum when he counts the money. A womanizer will be in his optimum, in his maximum when he is enjoying women. The same day, enlightened man will be in his optimum, will be in his maximum. He will be in his total energy when he laughs. Because for that moment, he is directly expressing the existence. There is one of the important saying by Zen Buddhist master. Somebody goes to him and asks, Master, always you say, whatever is done by you is different and whatever is done by us, it is different. If you yell at us, you say it is good for us. You say it is expression of compassion. But if we yell at somebody, you say it is expression of anger. Whatever we do, you find some fault. And the same thing you do, you justify it with something. Whatever we do, you say it is something else. And whatever you do, you say something else. Tell me someone action where we both meet and merge with each other, where both are one and the same. Master says a beautiful thing. He says, if I touch a rose flower, I am totally different. And the rose flower also feels totally different. If you touch a rose flower, you feel totally different. And rose feels totally different. Because your sensitivity is very less, my sensitivity is too high. When you touch a rose, only half of your being touches. And the same way, half of the rose being responds. But when I touch a rose, my whole being feels it. That's why the whole rose responds to it. There is one important thing in Zen. They will make a lawn, grass lawn around your house. You have to go to the house and come back only walking on the lawn. If you don't make the path on the lawn, if a grass does not die by your walking of 1 year, only then you will be initiated into monkhood. The important thing we should understand, they say, if grass does not die by your walking, then you are qualified to become a monk. Means, you become so graceful, so vibrant, filled with positive energy. Grass never feels hurt by your walking. Grass should never feel hurt by your walking.